What happened? Sorry.
What happened?
Oh, sorry.
You love the word juice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, juice. Yeah. Yeah. So Blue Run
Juice
like
and cheers. I can't stand either one of them.
Cheers.
Juicy cheers.
Let me text you cheers.
And welcome everyone to episode 44 of The Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're your hosts, Michael, Anthony, and Steven. Hello, guys.
Good evening, guys. Let's try this again. I was over here last night to record, and then I had a little adventure. I had to get away for a little bit.
Well, I know that I was sitting here, and when you said, like, there's an emergency, I looked at Steven and I was like, what's he talking about? And then that was it. And you're gone. And then the whole night was sabotage.
So what exactly happened last night?
So my mom calls about 9:30 or so, and she's like, my mom had gotten 2 new cats. It was her first day with these cats.
Big mistake, cats.
They're 12 weeks old. I know you don't like cats, or you're allergic to them or something. They're 12 weeks old. She had turned them loose in her house, and they had immediately, as soon as they got in the house, apparently went straight to any opening in the wall that they could find. And a little 12-week-old cat's not very big. So it had gone up in the wall. One of them had gone up in the wall behind the washing machine, or behind the washing machine, yeah. So she could hear it. It was crying in there, so she needed my help to go over there. So I spent the last hour and a half of the night last night trying to coax a cat out of the wall. So I got in there. I could hear it crying. I was reaching up in there. There was dust flying. I'm pretty sure I inhaled asbestos. The house is 75 years old, so I'm pretty sure that's in my lungs.
You probably
right
got some
now.
lead paint in there too.
I'm sure there's lead paint. I mean, I grew up in the lead paint house, so that probably explains a lot of things anyway. But so I reached up in there and I'd try to grab the tail every now and then, and it hits at me and run into the wall a little further.
Yeah.
And there was like a ledge there up in the wall. There's a ledge. You know how like pretty old houses have who knows what's back there. And I mean, there was just stuff flying. Finally, the cat makes its way out on its own, of course, after all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
So you just sit there quietly for a while, and it finally just comes out. And just like anything, it gets hungry, it's going to come out. It finally got out, and I grabbed it, and we were able to get it out of the laundry room and shut the door to the laundry room so that he won't get back in there again, or she won't get back in there again. But, I mean, it came out. Its hair was standing straight up. It was covered in dust. I mean, it looked like a mess.
Was your mom happy? Did she appreciate
was glad.
it?
She felt like she could sleep that night. I knew it was probably going to be okay. Like I knew if it got in there, it could get out. That's kind of the attitude my dad used to always take for animals. If you can get in, you can get out. But first night she didn't want the cat in there crying and doing all that kind of stuff. So got a little bit of a heart, but I didn't have much of a heart for it when I was pulling on its tail trying to get it out of there. And it had just gotten fixed because my mom had just picked it up from the Humane Society. So so I'm also trying to make sure I'm like not ripping its incision open and all that kind of stuff too. So
Steven's sitting here thinking about his own cat, which he
I don't think he would fit through the hole.
He doesn't fit through anything.
That's what I told my mom. I was like, it won't be much longer before they won't be able to fit in here anyway. So it doesn't matter. Like this is.
So did you get the hole patched up?
For the most part, I mean, as good as you can get it. Like my uncle came over today and did that. But more importantly, we had an old cat that we had cut a hole. My dad had cut a hole in the like the laundry room door so that it could go in there and use the litter box and stuff like that. And so that was originally where my mom was going to keep the litter box for the new cats, but that's how they went in, and she's not going to do that anymore, obviously. So got that hole fixed there.
They're enterprising cats. They figured it out. They're like, we're going in through this.
It's amazing. 12 weeks old, and they're all smarter than us already. So.
Well, I'm glad everything ended
up
okay.
Yeah, everything's good now. I went over there today. She still hadn't seen the cat all day. I don't know where it is
under
now.
Bed or
yeah, it's under. When I went over there today, it was up in the couch, like underneath, like it climbed up in. The couch
so they found another hole to go into.
Yeah, I found another hole. So
are both of them in there?
They were both in there today. I was able to get them both out earlier. So
are they both male or female?
No, they're both female.
Okay.
So.
When you told me that story about, or you mentioned it where the cat was at in the couch, that's a big deal because we had a bottle of liquor one time. My brother and I did. We were not of age. We put it underneath the couch inside of like where the box spring is at. Mm-hmm. And we forgot about it. It was after it was empty. It's like, we're not going to throw this away because we're afraid my parents are going to see it. So one time we're moving the couches in the basement, years later, my dad stands the couch up. So
The bottle
we can
fell
take it
out.
out. The bottle just goes down and smashes against the end. And
Oh,
he's like,
no.
he goes, what was that? And my brother and I looked at each other like, what in the world? We just had this moment where I connected. We're like, you're an idiot, and that's it.
I mean, the things that are in couches are like we got rid of an old couch, a couple years ago, and before we got rid of it, there's like a cloth bottom, to it, like you said, and I knew that a bunch of the kids' toys had fallen in there over time and all that stuff. So I'm like, all right, well, we're just throwing this couch out. So I ripped the bottom off of the thing, and toys just fell right out. Like little toys, and usually like remotes and stuff like that. You hadn't been able to find in a while. Legos and everything like that.
Well, how do you know that you're going to have a couch now? You try to get rid of it, there's going to be a cat in there, right?
Well, I mean, that's the thing now. You never know what's going to be in there. I had a couch in the basement of a house we lived in when I got out of college, and it was one of those like sleeper sofas,
Mm-hmm.
Those things weigh like 1,000
Yeah, they're
pounds. We had gotten it down into the basement of this house that we were renting, my roommate and I. And I told my roommate, I said, when we move out, we're leaving this couch. Like I don't care if we don't get our deposit back, for this house. We're leaving this freaking couch and we did. We left it. We're like, let them have it because this thing is not coming back out of this garage or out of this basement. Oh, I mean, if we want to get into couch stories,
I was hoping you weren't going to go there.
Oh, no.
the one that Anthony's sitting on
What's
right
happening
now.
here? Oh, God. What am I sitting on?
This couch that Steven ordered that's really nice. It's nice, isn't it? It's a nice sectional L-shaped down here with
feels good on the back.
with the shays on the end.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice.
He looks very nervous, though. So what does he tell me
It's
about
a nice
this?
couch. He ordered it. Had it ordered for the basement. It was time for it to come in. And then tell us the rest of the story, Steven.
The reason we bought this couch is the previous owner had a very similar setup and we liked it.
Okay.
So we kind of, bought the furniture to kind of match what was there. And I really didn't think anything of it because he had a sectional. I ordered a sectional. Let's be happy. The sectional came, and it came in only 3 pieces. Later, I found out that the guy before us must have had a 4th piece. in it. So the big, long, I guess the couch part of it, the 3-seater, would not fit down the basement stairs. So for a few weeks, we had it in front of our fireplace in the family room.
Oh, no.
Because the only way I could get this down here was to remove the only window in the basement and replace it with a double hung unit that I could remove because the other one was just a single hung.
Are you serious?
And once the window was physically removed, then I asked the guys, we moved it in here through the window to get it into the basement. And then before
God.
they installed the window, just to make sure it was in the basement.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most legit furniture moving story I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah.
So it's similar to mine. This couch is probably, if they ever move out, is probably going to come with the house.
Yeah.
Because
That window, you can remove both of the panes and it can come out. So, thank you, Michael.
no problem. It was really funny at the time.
Well, gentlemen, we have a new bottle this evening, which I'm actually pretty excited about because I've seen it, but I've never tried it. We have a bottle of Blue Run High Rye Bourbon.
Here we go. So, Blue Run. This is the Blue Run Spirits Distillery, if you could call it that. The bottle date is 2021. ABV is 55.5% or 111 proof. This is a 4-year-old high rye bourbon. The mash bill is 65% corn, 30% rye, and 5% malted barley. And the MSRP is 90, although I've seen this go between 80 and 100.
All right. So I got to tell you, when I heard Blue Run, I had no idea what you're talking about.
Like a lot of people.
Yeah. Like I've seen it. I think I have seen it on some of the Facebook
You've seen the
groups.
butterfly, I'm sure.
I've seen the butterfly. I've seen the bottle that looks like one of those kids' sippy cups that you could tip over and it pops right back up.
That's a damn good point.
It's
Yeah,
got
it
that
is.
round.
No, it's one of those inflatable punching balloons.
Like
yeah,
Weeble
yeah,
Wobble.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the-
you punch it,
yeah,
it comes
the thing
back
that's
up
got
and
the
laughs at you.
Water at the bottom, and you knock it over, and it pops right back up again.
Yeah.
So it's Blue Run. There's nothing blue about the bottle. There is a butterfly on it, though.
All right, it's a gorgeous bottle.
It is a good looking bottle.
Yeah.
It is a good looking bottle, which leads me to start thinking that they might be putting a lot of effort into their bottles because no one's ever heard of their company before, you know?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But it is a good looking bottle. I see it's got a date on it of 9/29/21. Is that when it was bottled, I guess?
Yeah, I think I skipped that too. So,
So
good looking out.
that
I may
is,
have skipped it. I'm
so
not
this-
sure.
It's
This
a 4-year bottle.
okay, so this is quite fresh.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know, basically, a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
So this is the fall batch, it says.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming there was a spring batch too. What does it
Well,
say?
they-
Georgetown? Is that what it says? Georgetown, Kentucky?
It does say Georgetown, Kentucky, and they do typically do fall and spring stuff. Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's in Georgetown?
What's in Georgetown?
Well, they don't. I don't think they have a distillery there.
Jay
I just
Mattingly,
think they're
Bourbon 30?
no. It's definitely not. It's I think they just have a headquarters there.
Oh, okay. There's not really a whole lot of information. It just says from Georgetown, Kentucky. It's got your mash bill on there, and it says hand bottled in Bardstown by Blue Run Spirits, and that's it. Kind of like a bottle of mystery here.
Yeah.
I really like the butterfly and how it's been heat treated on the outside of it. And it has multiple colors around the tips of the wings.
It kind of like has a patina to it, right?
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah, it does. I agree. As
So-
far as bottles go, what do you think? Like, is this one of the more attractive bottles we've seen or not?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know why I like it. I think maybe because it's like a reverse shape. Like it's a little skinnier on the bottom and bigger on top.
Yeah.
Versus maybe like the other way around.
And one thing that's a departure too
And it
is
looks like it's got a thick base. I can't tell if the walls are thick, but maybe that butterfly and all the colors that they did on the butterfly and just the simple lettering on it make it just look really nice.
So I like it, but at the same time, I don't want to like it.
why is that? Yeah.
Well, I feel like this is one of those companies that picked their bottle before they picked their bourbon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you look at some of the other bottles that we look around, and I feel like they were a lot more naturally, they were.
What do you mean? They picked the stock bottle?
They kind of came out, they kind of developed more naturally.
Yeah, so you're saying maybe the marketing may have been in place before the juice was there.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
that's what they were doing,
Well, I mean, the 1792, that was their bottle from the get-go?
but like, you look at makers and the red wax was out of out of necessity,
Well, his wife wanted
at that time. Right.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't think it was like, hey, let's do this red wax and make everybody buy our stuff,
Yeah.
but I do like it though.
Yeah, it definitely stands out. Should we go for our first notes?
So I get a pretty good balance of some caramel notes and some oak and also a little bit of, I'm not sure what I'm picking up here.
You got citrus.
Citrus?
A little
Is it
baking.
citrus?
It
Baking
smells,
spice?
it smells clean
Yes.
for some reason. For 111 proof and being rye, or,
And being 4 years old.
being 4 years old, it just smells clean.
Yeah. So clean as in like cleaning or just
No,
clean?
you're not getting a lot of like nasty notes,
Gotcha.
wood notes, like
Yeah.
the real kind of like grainy notes.
That's very good.
I don't get a lot of much.
But the little you get is enjoyable.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
It's solid.
And at 111 proof, there's definitely some ethanol that stings
Little
you a
bit,
little bit.
but not
little
too
bit.
much.
Not too much. Not too much.
I'm a fan, surprisingly, I'm a fan of the nose for being 4 years. It's really nice.
I agree. I like what I'm nosing here.
Well, let's go for our first taste.
Oh wow. This to me is super interesting. The caramel translates over. There's some good oak notes, a little bit of astringency, but I'm also getting like almost like a bubblegum juicy fruit note, which is very, very interesting to me. So that citrus is coming over as like well, I'm going to get to it here in a second because I have some suspicion about why that might be the case.
No, it's good. 111 proof doesn't drink like it at all. Very smooth.
It's got a good finish.
Yeah, I would say the mouthfeel is medium to low.
Okay. Yeah.
You agree?
I agree
Now,
with that.
Do we know anything about as far as like a wheated versus a rye and how the mouthfeel kind of develops because of those grains? Can you say more of like a wheated is have a thicker mouthfeel versus a rye be more thinner?
I'm not sure if it really corresponds like that. I think that the wheat is supposed to just feel softer all around, if it's aged well. And rye is always supposed to be a little bit more spicy. So one thing that's really interesting about this is it's high rye, but it doesn't taste like it. Doesn't taste like it. At 30%,
No, it does not.
Doesn't have that bite that we're used to with rye. So and not in a bad way. It's in a good way.
It's got a rye spice, but not a real, but not a bite.
Yeah, it's a little bit on the I think on the back of the tongue.
Yeah, it doesn't overwhelm you.
No.
Yeah.
It's there, but
And the color of this is very light. You can tell it's 4 years old, even though I told you guys I'm the resident colorblind person. So
thanks for your expert opinion.
there you go. Oh, yeah.
So what do we know about Blue Run? Because I don't know much about it besides it just kind of showing up on the scene.
Yeah, so I actually...
Like, is it their own juice?
No, well, this is... So what happened was Blue Run, it started... What happened? Sorry.
What happened?
Oh, sorry.
You love the word juice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, juice. Yeah. Yeah. So Blue Run...
Juice and cheers. I can't stand either one of them.
Cheers.
Juicy cheers.
Let me text you cheers.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, thanks for seeing
you're
your
on
cheers.
the Facebook groups, it's like you're talking to a bunch of British people. They always end up everything with cheers.
Yeah, yeah. So Blue Run is a company that when they started with source product. You know, in previous episodes we talked about people that are starting distilleries and they start with source product. I don't know for certain because of NDAs and things like that, but I'm pretty sure they started off by sourcing Barton or Heaven Hill product, one of the two. So their initial release was a 13-year bourbon.
Damn.
Yeah, and then I think they stayed with the 13 through the year. They did a fall and spring. In the following year, they did a 13.5-year single barrel release. And so that single barrel release was crazy. They had like 10 or 11 single barrels. They had like a black box with a black butterfly on the front.
Oh, are you saying the butterflies kind of change like waxes on other ones?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. The butterflies always change. So this one actually, to my opinion, is a more attractive butterfly. Like, this is the best looking one they've had. Yeah, I love it. I love it. This is my favorite one. But they had like gold and black and like different shades and stuff like that. And so at the end of the day, they sourced a lot of their early stuff. But while they were sourcing, they actually had contract distilling with Jim Rutledge, who's formerly the Master Distiller of Four Roses. And so Jim Rutledge was distilling at Castle and Key for this bourbon that we're drinking tonight. And then I think that their rye was distilled at Bardstown Bourbon. And I don't know if Jim was distilling it or if somebody else was. They started off as a source company, something we've kind of said we didn't like. But now they're getting into their own distillate. And from what I'm tasting so far, I like it. So that's what I know about Blue Run.
So is the company only 4 or 5 years old?
Oh, yeah, not even. I think it's 3 years old. Yeah.
So this is 4-year-old bottle. So what are we dealing with here?
Well, I mean, they started 3-year-old in terms of what they started releasing. So I think right around the time they started planning to release, so there's some lead time there. They were also starting their contract distilling. So,
all right. So contract distilling, that's kind of an interesting term.
yeah.
Are there different categories as far as distilling goes? As far as I mean, in my head, when you say that, I'm thinking a new company, let's say like William Tarr comes in, they're just picking barrels.
Yeah.
And then there's, on the other spectrum, I would think there's, like a Buffalo Trace that's, doing their own barrels.
Yeah.
So does the contract distilling kind of fall in the middle?
Yeah, I think so. And the way I've understood it is this, like, if you got MGP, we've talked about MGP in previous episodes. If, for example, Blue Run had sourced MGP and that's how they started their company, they never distilled anything, and it is what it is. But in this particular case, they sourced bourbon, then they wanted to distill it. And when we think about distilling, with the contract versus distilling it on your own, another company that comes to mind is Bullet. So Bullet Bourbon, a lot of people know it. It's been a darling for quite a few years. A lot of their whiskey was distilled at Four Roses. And so a lot of people were always talking about like, oh, this Bullet is amazing. It's this and that. Their single barrel stuff now is 10, 11 years old. It was all distilled at Four Roses. So Blue Run is using a similar kind of a template, but they're being very transparent about where it's coming from. It took people a long time to catch on to what Bullet was doing. But with Blue Run, they're like, yes, we've contract distilled. Jim Rutledge is our guy. He's making our bourbon. And so, it's essentially coming from them, even though they don't have a distillery. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's an example of a random company coming in and just picking barrels? What's a good example of that?
That'd be like one like Kentucky Senator. Michael, you remember Kentucky Senator? Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a liquor barn and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
I saw that
that
one.
was actually a state senator here.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, the one that's
bought that
the one that
bourbon
bought
brand. And the rumor is that Jim Beam. It was Jim Beam that had a lot of
I think you're right. Yeah.
stuff that was supposed to go overseas. They kept it in the country, and people just could buy it. And so Kentucky Senator, they released a 15-year-old bourbon that it sold because people want to buy a 15-year-old bourbon, right? I don't know how it is.
So it's like
I've never talked about it.
$200
Whatever.
Jim
Yeah,
Beam
$200, $300 a bottle. And I've never heard anything from them. I don't think they have plans to actually distill their own stuff or contract distill their own stuff. I could be wrong, but that's the essence of picking the barrels.
So I guess the other two categories are pretty obvious. Like contract distilling, like you said, was Bullet.
Yeah.
And I guess people making their own barrels is Buffalo Trace, an example of those.
Oh, yeah, or Four Roses or
Yeah.
anybody, for that matter.
All right.
Wild Turkey, yeah.
That's just interesting is all these little companies get different barrels at. So fellas, would you pass, try, or buy on the Blue Run High Rye Bourbon? I'll go first. I'm going to buy.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this. 4 years. Now, this is a high rye. They have other products, I assume, right?
They do, but not other bourbon. The other bourbon they have right now is sourced.
Okay, so what do they have on their own? This is just nothing?
They had that golden
Just
rye.
the
I saw
golden
it
rye,
wine the other
the golden
day.
rye, and the bourbon. That's
So
all
how
in
much
there.
is the golden rye?
The golden rye is about the same price.
Same price, okay.
$100. Yeah.
$90, $100,
Yeah.
whatever.
Uh-huh.
I've enjoyed this. I'm really excited to see what this thing tastes like at 6 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's real pleasant. The bottle's beautiful. I like the fact they're using different butterflies on it. I know it's just has nothing to do with the bourbon, but just as far as being on your shelf, I think it's really attractive, and I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it.
Okay.
I like that. I
All
like
right.
that.
So I would try it. I like it, and I want to try it. I wouldn't buy it for the reason that it's $90 or $100 for something I don't know a whole lot about.
Are there pics of this?
No.
No. Okay.
No picks.
But I would accept this
As a gift.
as a gift. Like I feel like
gift bottle.
we've talked about gift bottles and what your wife would buy you and
Yeah.
stuff. That this is one that I think that my wife would buy as a gift because she likes the bottle, and I would accept that and be happy with it. Pot still, no, I'm not doing that. But I'm taking that gift back. But this one, yeah. But I do like it though.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And here's what I'll say. I get both sides of the argument here because 4-year-old bourbon at, damn near $100 is a tough sell. But what they're delivering, in my opinion, is pretty special. So you got Jim Rutledge, who, for all intents and purposes, hasn't been working in mass since he left Four Roses, distilling this bourbon, which in and of itself is special. He's a Bourbon Hall of Famer and stuff like that. And then on top of that, I kind of led on earlier when I was talking about it, I'm a little bit of a homer. As soon as Blue Run hit, I was one of the first people probably to buy a bottle before there was hype or anything, and I really enjoyed it. The early stuff they sourced showed me that they really knew what they were doing, and so I am between a try and a buy, but I'm more strongly favoring a buy just because there are so many brands that are presenting 4-year-old products at $40, $50, and $60. Yeah, I might be paying $30 for a bottle, but I like that bottle. It looks good and it tastes good, and so I'm probably closer to a buy than I am a try.
I mean, at 111 proof, it drinks like an 80.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's really smooth.
yep.
So you
And
said,
we kind of made fun of, I guess, Peerless. Not make fun, but I mean, everyone was in awe about when Peerless came out with their rye and what their rye come out as. 80 or was it 100? I forgot which one it was.
It was somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this is right around the Peerless price point. I don't know. I doubt they have any of the accolades that Peerless had, but I mean, it's right there with them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Peerless started something and they're just kind of following in their footsteps.
So I will just say this about Blue Run. When I first bought the bourbon, I was kind of skeptical because everybody was sourcing the same product at the time, and I'm like, how can this be any better? And I really liked it. And then I started messaging with people that are they're co-owners or brand ambassadors, and one of the co-owners, Mike Montgomery, he responded to me almost immediately on Instagram, and we went back and forth.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome, honestly, to tell you the truth. And so we've had good back and forth through each of the releases that I've bought. I've always given him honest feedback, and he's listened. And to me, that's pretty amazing, right? To have that kind of engagement with a brand, especially when it's distributed, not, I won't say like nationwide, because they're only in, I think, a handful of states. They're not nationwide distributed, but they have some distribution through online means. But I've just appreciated the way they've started their brand, the way they're rolling it out, and I had very, very low expectations for this distillate. I'm not going to lie. I was like, okay, here's where they crash and burn. And I'm opposite. I'm like, the future looks so bright right now.
Yeah, I don't know if like I can see where you're saying that. Like, is the butterfly making it feel like a gimmick on the front? Like, I don't know
I thought that.
I don't know the importance of the butterfly in front.
I don't either.
I mean, it's cool that they're using different colors of them to kind of differ between the bottles, because I'm sure all the bottles look the same with the same font. Okay,
100%.
I mean, that's a great way of deciphering which ones are which.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see how it's kind of like, is this a gimmick or is this for real?
All I know is shout out to the Montgomery guy for writing you back on Instagram. So when was the last time anybody's heard from George Garvin Brown? You know, I mean, you try to contact Old Forester,
they get it right back.
Crickets.
He's dead. I mean, he's not writing you
6 feet
back.
deep.
That's right. He says, "Wait till September 2nd, you'll get my birthday bourbon, and that's all you're going to hear from me."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Mashup KY. Also, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, keep it neat.